Welcome to another episode of the Incident Commander series. Today's guest, Carl Metni. Carl is currently a Cyber Incident Response Commander at CMA CGM. Carl is here with us today to share his experiences as an Incident Commander. Welcome to the show, Carl. So without further ado, let's get started.
Thank you, Cohen, for this great introduction.
Okay, let's start by setting the stage. For those who might not be familiar with the Incident Commander role, how would you, Carl, define the role of an Incident Commander?
Yeah, so I usually define the role as a bridge between structure and chaos, because during a cyber attack or a whole cyber crisis,
Mhm.
you would need to have this link between what's happening on a top management level, on a business level, as well as on the lower level, the logs, the malware, the attacker activity. So at the same time, you would need to know about legal issues, press, sometimes media issues, sometimes what can hurt the organization at a low level, on the IT level, at the same time, non-IT level, like I just said, from the media level, from the press level. So it's a mix of both.
What is the difference between the incident commander and incident leads?
From my point of view, it depends actually on the size of what's happening. If if it's a small incident, let's say small, I mean a few servers or a few email addresses for a whole week, the attacker's been there reading emails, sending emails. If an IC can do it, for me, he can be the technical lead and at the same time lead and coordinate all the incidents. For bigger incidents where you have a whole AD that's been to the ground or multiple forests or a major incident, I don't think he could have time to be the technical lead. Like let's stay real, right? He doesn't have time to have all these meetings to get the network guys on a call, request the right logs at the right time, and at the same time have a call with the management
Mhm.
with some status call. At the same time, do the investigation or lead the investigation, because what's happening when we say leading as a technical lead, you would need to do things yourself. So he won't have time, but it's nice to have that balance of knowledge as well.
But it's challenging, right? Because
It
if you're
is very challenging.
because if you're a techie, you're a hands-on guy, and you see someone else struggling, you're very inclined to go and help that person, but you're basically detracting, or let's say moving not in the right direction for your actually main role, which is to communicate, as you mentioned, translating tech speak to exec speak, making sure that all of the stakeholders keep being up to date. And obviously, very often leaders want more frequent updates than there are technical updates to provide, because technical
Yes.
investigations, they take time, right? So if a leader is saying, I want an update every 30 minutes, you're in this constant cycle of being on calls. And by the time you're done writing your notes for the previous call, you're already due for the next call.
Most of the time, things break, like a hard disk that you've been waiting for to come from the other part of the world would be like the forensics box would not read it for some reason, and the management would be waiting for a week because we told them next week we would have it. It would take a day, and that's not happening. And you would need to let them know in a non that's actually very challenging, yes. And at the same time, as you said, when you're a handy person and you see someone not guided the way that you would guide it, because even on the technical level, everyone does it their own way. So what I technically tend to do is to try to have them on a quick call just to let them know how I would handle it, or how I would find the answer to this question. And at the same time, logs not everywhere are being turned on, from WAFs to firewalls to ADs to anything. So that's why actually incidents happen, right?
What specific challenges do you face in your industry vertical?
The main challenge is that, as you said, in a cloud data center, you can send someone in, he can get you what you need, the exact log, the hard disk image, the memory image, but on a cruising ship in the middle of the ocean, usually some of the crew there are trained for some IT stuff to capture an image, to capture memory image, a hard disk image with the right blocker sometime.
Mhm.
You would need that. Not every crew is trained for that, but usually most of them. So that's the most challenging part, to tell the executives that this part of the what happened, this part of the incident, we won't be getting in at least in the next 90 days or 120 days. And that is the biggest challenge, because if it's a dock chip, it is easy. We can send someone there. We can have a call with anyone there.
Mhm.
But if it's cruising in the middle of the ocean, that's the most challenging part, getting what you need. And this usually would be critical in answering the biggest questions around the table.
What about incident commander resiliency?
We usually have a follow the sun model.
Mhm.
So we have people all around the world to have all the shifts. We have an on-call model for the weekends as well, for the holidays as well, and that would help because uh, it's a huge organization. You can find multiple people from everywhere around the world. So we are trying to have the same languages spoken, maybe uh, the same type of work, because in each region of the world, everyone does it their way, from IT to cyber to business to legal. So it's working actually really good for now, and I hope it will stay that way.
Okay, so if you're using the follow the sun model, obviously what is interesting and what is usually a challenge is handover, and especially when you do handover between different regions, right? So you mentioned your global organization, you work with different cultures, and obviously, people don't necessarily write things down the same way. How do you get to a handover that is as close as possible to what might be describing as universal?
That's a problem actually for pretty much everywhere in cybersecurity, because I come from a SOC background. That's a problem there as well. So what we actually do is we try to keep it simple, at the same time not to miss any information. Actually, between a shift and the second one, we just hop on a call, share what happened during the day, from emails, from if there is new war rooms, if there are new updates. So just from A to Z. That's what we try to do. But for sure, sometimes there are some misinformation, like someone would forget something, he would have a long day. We try to write them down per war room.
What is the hardest part?
For me, the hardest thing is when it first hits, when a few, let's say 40 to 60 minutes starts within a cyber attack. Everyone needs to know what's happening, but
Mhm.
as you all know, like investigation, going through logs would take some time. Knowing what's actually happening would take some time. So just to fill this gap for the people that needs to know what's happening, to try to hold them off, to let everything stay where it should be,
Mhm.
and to let them feel that this guy knows what he's doing. Because sometimes when you try to hold someone off when he needs information from you, most of the time they would think of it as, this guy doesn't have this information.
Mhm.
So you would need to just let them know that we know what we're doing, we're handling it, but at the same time, we don't have that information that you're checking for.
What about stress management?
That's the biggest part of the job, yeah. Actually, as you said, some major incidents can run for days or even multiple weeks.
Mhm.
the team structuring helps reducing stress. A clear ownership or clear priorities within a clear action plan will greatly help. Good communication templates stabilizes the table or the room, and it kind of prevents the panic that happens with it. But yeah, as you said, it can be stressful for the incident response team or the IC, because in every meeting you would need to have this smile on your face. You would need to let everyone know that we're handling that, we have that, it's very good. But most of the time it won't be. You would be stressed. You would be working on a 4 or 5 attacks, and you would need to do that for the 5 of them, even if it's follow the sun, even if you have 5 or 6 people on the same shift.
Mm-hmm.
uh, there are a lot of burnouts, but yeah, most of the time a clear action plans for multiple type of incidents. For sure, there are no baseline for this, for sure, and I don't think anyone thinks that. But something to start with would usually help,
Mm-hmm.
and just to have a clear and stable action plan, if we want to call it that, would help reduce the stress on our shoulders and on everyone around the war room.
If you know in advance what the current status is, what the next actions are, people feel you're in charge, you've got the trust of your leadership, that by itself reduces stress.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it. I mean, you can't take it away. It's part of the role. What's your thing? What is the technique that you use? Because you need to breathe in between as well, right? Even if you're going off your shift and someone takes over for with your follow the sun model. What is your technique to recharge? Is it like a power nap? Is it spending time with the family? Is it cooking? I've had a lot of different stories on the Incident Commander series, but would be curious. What are you doing to recharge?
Actually, for me, my getaway is sports, just hitting the gym, doing some Muay Thai, just hitting a bag, and at the same time spending time with the family, just going out for a walk, maybe any type of sports that requires your mind too much into it. So
Mm-hmm.
that would take my mind off the incident. But at the same time, I'm 100% sure every IC faces that. Once you put your head to rest for a small nap or for the night, you would rethink of the whole incidents with the timeline, with what's happening, what's going to happen in that call. I know what's going to happen. That VP would be mad. This guy would be stressed. So at the same time, as much as I try to escape from it, at the end of the day, when I'm closing my eyes or when I want to shut off, I just have a small flashback of every incident, of the small things that matters at the same time.
Regards to handover, so context, right? Context matters. If someone puts an IP address on a IOC list, doesn't provide the right context, or said I took this from this particular host, or I saw this particular activity, but it's hard because it's not something you can drill into people automatically, and everyone's mindset's different. If I take notes, my notes would look different from your notes, for sure, right? Because we're different people, we've got different experience. But I definitely agree with you that will remain one of the biggest challenges when using the follow the sun model.
Yes,
At the same
definitely.
time, it sounds to me like you're very passionate about your role, right? And I think passion is something that drives most incident commanders in this job. And as you mentioned, even when you sign off, you're still thinking about, oh, did I look at this box, or should we look at this log? And tomorrow morning, I need to tell this person to actually look at this box or this IP address. This is passion, right?
That's what actually got me in the whole incident response job. Yeah, when the first time you stop an attack from happening, or even after, if it's happening, even after you investigate how a ransomware happened from their initial foothold to the data exfiltration for the whole attack vector, that like just turned a plug in me that I liked investigating how things happened, or at the same time stopping the bleeding in the middle of the incident,
Mhm.
getting to know that an attacker is here, he's aiming for the SCCM to deploy ransomware or to deploy any type of malware, and you stop that at the at the right time with the right ways. So yeah, that's I like that a lot actually.
Third-party vendor challenges.
One of the major challenges with the vendors or the third party vendors would be the ownership and visibility. So during major incidents, multiple third parties may be involved, right? And responsibilities can become unclear very quickly. This vendor is saying, hey, it's not our fault, it's your security product on the mail filter level that's the problem.
Mm.
And when this starts happening, usually, so as I said, if it's with multiple vendors, everyone try to blame the other vendor since it's their competitor, right? And no one wants to give you the visibility you need to take a decision, because usually what actually happens is the executives say, hey, but we've invested millions in EDR. How did this simple malware or a script bypass the EDR?
Mm.
So is it the vendor problem? I'm calling them. So
Mm.
that's how it goes. So once the executives calls their salesperson, and then their salesperson gets only a small part of the message that the executive is trying to say, and then you find yourself in a call with the technical team, with their directors, and you will be asking questions that they have the answer but are not willing to give you the visibility you need, because your top management need to decide if we need to move to another vendor, and they usually know that, right? That's why I started by saying the major problem is ownership and visibility.
Specific challenges during mergers and acquisition related incidents.
First of all, I would just give the scoping more time because we don't know the environment, we don't have the logs, they're not integrated into our stack. We don't know how they operate, what's their priorities. So uh, we try to have two separate calls, the technical call and the business call. For the technical call, we would try to prioritize if they have a network design system. Most of the time, not everyone has them, or they would be outdated. So we would try to understand their network around the incident or around what's going on, because it's impossible to understand it on a short call, their whole network infrastructure, their whole flow from the internet going inwards or outbound, you see. For the business call, we would just try to find out what their crown jewels are, what data could be in their application that got hit.
Mhm.
So mainly, I would try to give the scoping more time than usual. Try to make notes, and that would help us in future incidents, because we are gathering this information. Either it's a new M&A, or either it's an external client, let's say. So that would help everyone in this field, because scoping would help you in an incident, because sometimes in the log you would see an IP that you don't know where that came from. It's a different range of IPs, right? It's from a different subnet that's not supposed, or a different VLAN that's blocked on the switch level. How it how is the attacker using it, or how did it come here? Is it related to the incident? So if you have a system design, or you have some good notes from your call, that could help you a lot.
What about cultural differences in the ecosystem?
People would understand things in a joke, other people would get it in a rude way, they would feel offended. At the same time, like the language barrier, it's even if everyone speaks English, let's say, around the table, sometimes there are technical words that they don't understand, and they would feel the stress of asking about it, because there are his n plus two is in the meeting.
Mhm.
So this would impact the incident at a whole.
Yeah,
And
it's definitely a challenge in some cultures, like, making mistakes or admitting that you've done something wrong is definitely a strong problem that you might run into when running global incidents, and it remains challenging. whenever you had language problems, have you ever had to think about alternative ways of getting information to someone if the verbal request on a war room call didn't work? What technique have you tried or have you applied in your role that worked?
I usually try to have a call privately with the person,
Mhm.
just to it will let him or her feel less worry or less stressful environment. It's just me and you. We're having a friendly chat, like I'm your teammate, I'm your colleague. So that usually does the job for me. Just having a private conversation, either a small chat on Teams or not over a call, what I mean, like just chat, that would do the trick most of the time.
Prioritization.
Yes, so usually during a war room, it depends actually on the severity of the incident because each team has a different severity calculator, right? So it depends, but yeah, mostly what I go for is the time sensitivity. I prioritize time. uh, the first focus is usually containment or stop the bleeding, understanding the scope, that's the biggest part of it, and protecting critical business operations. Because, as you know, even if you've managed to stop the attack on the domain controller, which is a big part of an infrastructure, right? But
Mhm.
the web server is still down. That's what will matter the most in the view of the management. Their business is down. It doesn't look good on the media, but you and your team stop the attack on the domain controller, they won't be happy. Their
Mhm.
website is still down, or maybe it's still defaced with this threat actor saying uh, we have your data, pay us the ransom on our own website. That would be bad. So for sure, it is a critical business operation, so it's asset by asset, understanding the scope, and for me, time sensitivity is what I prioritize.
If you ever run into a situation, obviously we have our forensicator hat or let's say technical experience that tells us what to do to stop the bleeding, which is the security focused aspect. But then there's the business side, right? As you kind of alluded to. Have you ever had situations where the business is basically making the decisions in the end, right? You bring recommendations as an incident commander based on your security hat. You're trying to stop the bleeding, but the business might say no, our website needs to stay up 24/7. Have you ever run this type of situations? What are some of the convincing or argumentation that you could have brought or that you brought to the table to try to convince them, let's say to say, if you do not unplug the internet now, we're going to face internet in the next hours. It's a very typical discussion that we have as incident commanders. Getting that, however, understood by the business is not an easy thing. What's your approach?
Actually, yeah, it is not an easy thing at all. So I faced this multiple times. What I usually, if I hit a dead end, I try to remove the responsibility from me and my team. Usually, when we reach that point, the other people, the other person who's saying we need to do this, feels a little bit the heat, right?
Mhm.
Maybe they're right. They're removing the responsibility off their shoulders. So maybe I'm doing something wrong, or I'm taking a faster decision than it should be. So usually that's my last chance. That's my last Queen of Hearts to play during a war room. But usually I just try to give them small examples that they can understand. Let's say if you want to tell this big client that you have an incident because they might be afraid of losing him, this big client could have someone that knows another person in a smaller client, but it's still huge. And this way, all your clients starts noticing that hey, the, they've had an incident and they've officially n- notified client A, but not client B. So that would be problematic. I try to give them examples that they can understand. Usually, if it's a legal person, I would try to twist the problem into a legal problem. If it's a marketing problem, I would do the same for a marketing person. So yeah, that's usually my approach for it.
What was your biggest win?
For me, the biggest wins are the incidents that we managed to stabilize the environment, coordinate all stakeholders around the table, and protect the business while avoiding the panic. That usually are pretty rare incidents, but they happen. Uh, that's one of the major wins.
How to celebrate the win at the end?
Recognition actually matters with different teams that helped you, because if this IT guy didn't give you the right log at the right time, or the network guy didn't do the configuration properly on the gateway, things could have gone sideways, right? So you need to recognize these people, give them maybe just a small message, a small phone call, a small email, because in the future you may work with them again, you may need them. So that would create this type of relationship with different team. Because like these moments build long-term team trust or team bonding.
The Incident Commander Toolkit.
You would need to have a little bit of everything for sure. You can't be the strongest guy in the logs, investigation, forensics, malware analyst, but you don't have a communication skill, even a few of it, or leadership skills, you will fail by leading the incident, even if you knew what happened from A to Z within 2 days. It only, for 2 days, you know what had happened, you stopped the bleeding at the right time, you did everything right. If you don't know how to let the management know that, of your hard work would be gone. So that's why it's a bridge, right? So for me, it's very nice, and it's crucial to have the technical knowledge. And as everyone may know, it's evolving. So at the same time, you would need that. You would need to stay up to date with all the new attacks, all the new TTPs, all the new artifacts that this attack would leave, right? Because sometimes you would need to guide your technical lead to go search for what he needs to search for where, right? So this is a big part of the toolkit or of the job. Another part is the communications and leadership skills. For sure, you would need that. Even if you're a team lead for a small SOC, you would need that, because you would need to lead everyone in the team. You would need to let them feel that everyone is the same. The same thing goes on in the war room. You would need to let the IT guy, even if he's a junior support, that you need logs from him as soon as possible. You would need to let him feel that you're standing next to them, you will help them, but we need these logs as soon as possible. He may be on a Saturday having a beer on the beach, so that falls under the communication and leadership skills. At the same time, VP might be super mad. He needs to know what the data that has been exfiltrated was, and you're clearly telling him that we don't have the logs, we don't have pickups. So for him, you're not doing your job the way you should, right?
True.
So you would need to have a mix. But for me, the biggest part of the technical part, the hands-on part, the leadership. I'm not saying the other parts are easy to have or everyone has them, but they can grow as you do the job.
Training tips for future incident commanders.
Didn't have a clear path as everyone in this field, not only in incident response and cybersecurity as a whole, because that's the biggest question. So where should I start? Should I take this course or that course? What's the better ratio for my money rate, let's say? So for me, I actually had the hands-on experience I had plenty of it. At the same time, I was leading a SOC. I was managing a SOC, so some communication, some leadership skills were there. You were working with clients. You would need to keep the client happy at all times, even if it's detection that your SOC missed or took more time than the agreed SLA. So I have this like it came to me this experience for keeping everyone happy around the table at the same time letting them feel that they are we know what we're doing. That's the biggest major points of an IC. And so for me, if I wanted just to build on a scratch paper a path, you would need a lot of hands-on technical abilities or technical skills. I don't want to get on what type of training. That's another story. There are plenty of them. Most of them are great. Some of them are useless. So I'm not going into that. Some of them are very expensive. Yeah. So, but actually, like you would need a very good technical background because it's super hard that you've never worked, let's say, on an incident on Linux, or you have never seen a log file from a Mac OS, and you are leading an incident going into the CEO's Apple iPhone that's been hit with an info stealer, right? So that's just an example. So you would need a mix of technical abilities. So no one needs to be a malware analyst at the same time, an incident response commander at the same time, a digital forensics expert. No one can have all these skills, but for sure, a good grasp of everything would be the great fit. And at the same time, as I said, just communication skills. You would need to let everyone around the table. It's a war room. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's scared. You would need to keep them you would need to keep them assured that everything's going to stay the way it is. We are handling it. Yeah, leadership and communication skills are definitive for this role.
Do you see AI as an enabler?
Is helping everyone more than it's an inconvenience for them, but for sure you would need to check what's it saying or check what it's doing, because the same thing that happened previously maybe a decade ago with the tools, with all the forensics tooling that can automate your investigation. You would just throw at it a hard disk and it would just build the timeline, just tell you what's happening through all these Yara rules, the Sigma rules, the so you would need to always check that, double check that. So that is the same thing that's going to happen with AI. But for me, as in terms of incident management, it can help a lot. If you have either a local model or either you have a private cloud instance that you have any AI model on it, it could help with the exec summaries. It could help with the action plans actually, because in major incidents and big incidents, you would have a baseline for sure of it, an action plan, but each incident typically differs from the other one. You would need to have multiple action items and in some terms that these teams can understand, because some different team for an incident that happened a year ago would have different knowledge. I would like to reach a phase where you can make it send repetitive messages that you send during war rooms, or the emails, or even just organize the meetings, because based on severity level you could have 3 meetings per day, right? 3 status updates. Or you could be sending executive summaries for when you're going around with 10 incidents on your back, and you would be dealing with 2, and you would need to send 10 executive summaries before the end of the day. But for sure, you would need to double check, to validate its output. The same thing that happens during digital forensics, where we say validating the tool's output, right? So yeah, for me, it could help a lot in the incident management part of it as well. And the technical part, we can see multiple projects going around for investigations for SOC, even next gen SOC. We're talking about AI integrated into SOC. So yeah, it's going to be a part of our day-to-day job.
Let's wrap it up. So thank you, Carl, for participating in this episode. It was really insightful to get your perspectives for the incident commander role, and I hope you enjoyed it yourself.
Thank you so much. Actually, yes, I enjoyed it myself, and I like what you're doing because that's a big part of the job that no one knows about. Everyone wants to fight attackers, wants to stop threats and breaches, but they don't know what actually goes on during when you're fighting the adversary.
The Incident Commander series are brought to you by Kuhn Backers.